Okay, so good morning to everyone. My name, as you see on the screen, is Evita Yaguno Feria, and I want to welcome you guys to the summer intern program that we have here at Dade Legal Aid. I'm a senior attorney with the Family Law Division, and I oversee and support the newer attorneys in our office and the law students and the certified legal interns. I started at Dade Legal Aid as a certified legal intern in 2005, and then I just stayed. They couldn't get rid of me. So I started in our DV department, actually, and I was there throughout my whole certified legal internship experience. And then I transitioned into family law. For me, I know firsthand what you guys can learn through this experience. And I really think that although it's a little bit hard right now because everything is virtual, I really do think that that these types of internships really give you firsthand knowledge and experience that you really can't get anywhere else. And I'm from St. Thomas. So on the Zoom call, we have Jeffrey, who is, I won't tell you where he is on my screen because I don't think all of the screens load differently, but he is the gentleman with the glasses and the suit on, the blue suit. I think it's blue, Jeffrey.
It's blue, that's correct.
He's in a very, very distinguished library at the moment.
I read them all, I read all these books.
Jeffrey, if you wanna just give a quick little intro.
Yes, sure. Hey, I'm attorney Jeffrey Valdez Alba. I work for Legal Aid. I'm in the domestic violence section. Legal Aid is compartmentalized, so there's different sections, different people that do different things. I'm part of the domestic violence team. So basically, I've been working here I've been an attorney for going on my 13th year. I was in private practice for 4 years. I did divorce, bankruptcy, wills. After that, I worked for the Administrative Office of Courts, which is basically, like you see the judge, usually there's a guy next to the judge and you think, oh, that's a clerk. No, not always. Sometimes it's me. And I was doing all the paperwork for the judge, because the judge, they make the decisions, but they don't necessarily want to calculate child support or sit there and do the paperwork. So that was me. I did all that stuff. And if the judge had a question, the judge would ask me, hey, what do you think about this? What's the law say on this? That sort of thing. So I did that for 5 years. And now I've been working with Legal Aid doing strictly domestic violence litigation for the last, I think I'm going into my 4th year. And it's been awesome. So, you guys are going to get to see some, I'm in court all the time. So you guys are probably going to get to see me at some point doing a, domestic violence trial, or you'll see how how my brain works, how I operate with regards to the cases. I represent women, children, and sometimes as well men that are victims of domestic violence. And we have Brenda, who's the head of the domestic violence here today. And she's gonna, I'm sure, talk to you a little bit more about what we do. So thank you, Evita. I yield the floor to you.
Thanks, Jeffrey. With the glasses and the strands of pearls, the multi-strands of pearls, because we have Wendy with a single strand and Marieta with multi-strands. I'll let Marieta introduce herself just because she's next on my screen. This is no order of importance, no hierarchy, just on my screen, how they fall. Marieta, if you could say a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. My name is Marieta Galindez Panjul. I used to actually work at Legal Aid from about 2000 to about 2003 or so. And then I took some time off and I came back to Legal Aid in 2019. I do family law cases. The majority of my cases have a domestic violence component to it. So when I get the case, they already have an injunction, but I'm dealing now with the children and dividing assets and just calculating child support. You're going to learn a lot here at Dade Legal Aid. I think it's a fantastic organization. And I do have hearings, but I don't have them as often as Jeffrey, because Jeffrey goes to court, I think, like almost every day. Just welcome to Dade Legal Aid.
Thank you, Marieta. So next on my screen is Wendy with the single strand of pearls. and the glasses, and in a very nice ocean view room.
Yes.
So Wendy, if you can say a little bit.
Thank you. This is my non-hearing Zoom background because it's calming. My name is Wendy Robbins Mcclary, and I am the supervising attorney for our Guardianship Department and the Children's Advocacy Department. I have been with Legal Aid for going on 24 years now. The first 18 years I spent practicing family, domestic violence, and dependency, and then transferred into guardianship when the former division head left or retired. So it's a totally different scenario, but I enjoyed all of my time in each division. So I look forward to working with all of you. What we do in guardianship is we represent people who are trying to take care of their person, their family member or friend who has a disability, and they're over 18. Kristen Foyer is going to be talking to you more about our child advocacy unit. But as far as guardianship, we are the largest provider of private guardianship services in the state, if not the nation, because there's the public guardian who has just a little bit more than our 1,000 to 1,200 cases that we currently have in our department. So which includes downtown office and South Dade, which Juanita Sandan, who has been here almost 30 years, heads up our South Dade division of the Guardianship Department. Look forward to seeing all of you virtually.
Thank you, Wendy. So next we have Stephanie Grossman. She has the blue background.
Good morning, everyone. I went to Stetson Law. I've been with Legal Aid since late 2006. I'm in the family division. What else? I am coordinator of our Leadership Academy, which is comprised of young up and coming attorneys in the community that are involved in pro bono and are essentially rising stars. I also am a mentor for guardians ad litem in family and domestic violence court. And that's it.
I forgot to tell Alyssa, I'm grad.
Thanks, Stephanie. Next up, we have Brenda. She has the white background and the glasses on. Brenda.
Hi, everybody. Brenda Rivera. I'm the managing attorney for the Domestic Violence Unit. I started in '97 and I was hired to grow our unit. Originally, we had one attorney, and now we have, including myself, 8, and we have 4 offices located throughout Miami-Dade County. Not sure if you guys are familiar with Miami-Dade County, but it's a county that's hard to get around. So we tried to get offices in different places so people could access our services. Like Jeffrey said, we represent victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and human trafficking. Our services are intended to be client-centered, they're trauma-informed, and if you all want to learn anything about us or get some training, or like Jeffrey said, watch hearings, you're welcome to reach out to us, and I hope you all have a meaningful experience here.
Thank you, Brenda. Second to last, we have Mark. Mark is in the striped shirt with the glasses.
Everyone. Well, welcome, first of all, to all the interns, Alyssa, Brandon, and Anna. I hope you guys have a good summer. Try to get it. It's the best advice I can give you. Try to get as many experiences as you can. Reach out to each of us. See, you know, you're not just constrained to what you were assigned to. You can work with other attorneys and reach out to us. I think you'll find everybody very accommodating. Most of us were interns at one time or another. 23 years ago, I was at St. Thomas Law School, and I got a fellowship to work with what's called Put Something Back. That's part of our organization that reaches out to private attorneys who take cases. You can always work with them also. And I started with Put Something Back. They hired me with Put Something Back. I've actually never had a job interview in my life, so I just stuck around. they get rid of me, so I just sort of got a job with Put Something Back. Then I worked with Brenda for domestic violence for 2 years, which I got a grant to work on South Beach on the police department. Years later, I ended up living like 2 blocks away. I should have stayed there. I could have walked to work, but I worked with Brenda for 2 years, which was a great experience. It was just trial by fire. We went into court, and it was just, I still think about it all the time, Brenda. And then I've been with the family law department for 17 years now. So I've worked my way up to what they call a senior supervising attorney. So you guys can always come to me for advice and help. And we're a real collaborative group. I think we've all been together a long, long time. We call it the Hotel California. You check in, but you can never leave. So hopefully you'll get some of that camaraderie, and you can just feel comfortable with us. And if you ever have questions, just bounce it off us. Okay. So welcome all.
Thanks, Mark. And last but certainly not least is Kristen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen. I work in the Child Advocacy Department and Guardianship with Wendy. I came to legal aid in 2006, so 15 years ago. As you see, like all of us have been around for a while, and it's kind of like a little family. But I work with Wendy. I do child advocacy. Specifically in juvenile court, I represent the wishes of children. Kids in juvenile court don't necessarily have the right to an attorney. They only have the right to an attorney if they meet certain criteria, like they are maybe being placed in a residential facility. The department wants to put them on psychotropic medication. They live in a skilled nursing facility, or they are a victim of human trafficking. So there's certain criteria. So I represent their wishes in the Dependency Court. And Dependency is a court for children who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected. And then the other thing I do is I work with Wendy in guardianship, and specifically I work on the guardianships for foster youth who are aging out of the system with a disability. So we take referrals pretty much anytime after 16 years of age. And then we file petitions for incapacity and guardianship on those cases when it's appropriate, when they have some type of disability that prevents them from, making decisions for themselves when they turn 18 years of age. So we ensure that they have a guardian appointed and somebody to protect them and make decisions for them and oversee, their financial life or their social life, whatever is necessary. And then other than the foster youth, I also work with Wendy in the general guardianship division. So feel free to reach out to me. I know I'll be working closely with Alyssa and Anna, and I look forward to the summer. Brandon, feel free to reach out as well if you have any interest in juvenile court, you want to, sit in on some hearings, anything like that. I'm always available, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Kristen. So you guys, Mark and Kristen kind of touched on it, but I want you guys to just know very clearly, each one of us, the attorneys, both that are here and the ones that are not, we all have an open door policy. It's not a physical door anymore, but we do have an open door policy. You guys can reach out to us anytime, and for guidance, to ask questions. If you're a little bit confused about something that you're working on, don't be afraid to ask. I know that there's many places where there's a lot of pressure in an internship, and you don't want to make someone feel like maybe they didn't make the correct decision in choosing you as an intern because you're unsure of something, or you guys are in law school. You're supposed to be learning. No one expects you to know everything. And an internship is exactly for that, to learn. So we're here to help, to guide, to answer any questions. So if we give you a project, a memo or something, and you're unsure of exactly how to proceed, just reach out. Don't be afraid. We're all here to help. And to make this really the best learning experience that we can for you. There's going to be one more intern that you guys might see around. And his name is Shabsi. He's from St. Thomas as well. He's going to be assigned to the family law department. But, you might see him in some other type of virtual event that we'll be doing. So we have a good amount of interns this summer. And I just want you to feel comfortable in reaching out and knowing that that we're here. You can contact us always through emails, usually the best way to get a hold of us, only because most of us get it on our phone and we're quick to respond that way. But, if you need to call us as well, you can do that too. Again, it's an open door policy, so just reach out, okay? So we're gonna hear just a little bit of each of our departments so you guys know more specifically what it is that each department entails. I'll go first just because I'm family and I'm already talking. So here we have Stephanie, Mark, Marieta, and I that do a family. We do have a few more attorneys that could not be here today that do family. One is gonna be out on maternity leave in August. She works with both the family and the DV department because she works on a special grant. Her name is Tensi. We have Alex Perez, who is an attorney that I supervise. He's one of the newer attorneys. He works exclusively in the family law department. You also have Alexandra Mesa. She does family and housing. So unfortunately, she's at a housing meeting right now with the county. So she was going to talk a little bit about what she does in housing. She told me if she finished early, she would pop in, but I'm not sure that she's going to. So our agency does also do housing, so you guys know. And as far as family goes, we do dissolutions, paternities, temporary relative custodies, dissolutions. We do have income guidelines. All of our clients are always conflict checked to make sure that we didn't represent the other side first in maybe another proceeding or through a DV proceeding. Most of our clients do have minor children. We make a few exceptions for those that don't have minor children. And basically that we do everything that encompasses a divorce. We deal with children's issues, time sharing, parental responsibility, child support, who gets the income tax dependency exemption. If the parent wants to relocate, we deal with the relocation as well. We deal with all of the division of the assets, the debts, the equitable distribution of that happens through a divorce, and really any other ancillary issues that may come up through a divorce. We also do paternities. Paternities is when the parties obviously were not married, but had a child of the relationship, and children's issues need to be addressed. So that's just time sharing, parental responsibility, and any financial issues that have to do with the rearing of the minor child. And we also do temporary relative custodies. Temporary relative custodies are when a family member, or now the statute was recently extended to like a close family friend, either through death of a parent, incarceration of a parent, the parent is in another country and is unable to gain access to the child, to be reunited with the child. Basically, that person needs to get a legal court order to be able to function in place of a parent, to be able to rear and care for the child. So in my cases, what I usually see, it's grandparents. Mom and dad are out of the picture. Grandma or grandpa need to continue taking care of this child because sometimes, I'm going to say more times than not, they've kind of already been doing it. And they just need a legal court order to be able to either get benefits for the child and enroll the child in school, change the child's school, things of that nature. So they come and they seek our assistance.
Avita,
Okay. Yes.
you might add, we only do it with consent from the parents.
If the parents are alive, we only do it with consent, right? If the parents are unfortunately deceased, then we do need the death certificate of that parent. And if the parent is unknown or unable to be found, they're in another country, or they're here in the United States, or they're here in Florida, but we just don't really know where they are, we do what's called a publication against that parent, which is basically for 4 consecutive weeks. It runs in a newspaper, a periodical that is, it's known for publicizing these kinds of things, for publishing these kinds of things. And that's adequate notice. It's notice enough for the court to be able to proceed and eventually give our client the relief that they're seeking. So that's kind of, Mark, I don't know if I'm forgetting anything, family in a nutshell.
I think you did it. That was well done.
So we'll move on to DV. So you'll hear from Brenda in reference to what DV encompasses.
Hi again. Our unit serves anyone who is a victim, and we work with a very narrow statute when you look at it. But because of the power and dynamics control issues and safety planning, lethality things, it's a very complex type of work. So our victims can be children, can be adults, seniors, and like Jeffrey said, men, women, people with disabilities, immigrants, farm workers. We also have a project with the LGBTQAI community. We serve everyone. We don't have income guidelines for our project because we believe that it's important and critical that individuals get access to our services. Our referrals can come from police, the hospitals, rape crisis centers, victim services organizations. People often hear about us when an incident is, there's an abuse incident, they need protection, they don't know where to go. Everyone pretty much knows about legal aid and the services we provide because we've been doing this for a very long time, and we have developed a reputation of a quality of service for victims that helps them navigate this very difficult time and also helps them stabilize their lives and protect their children. So as far as domestic violence, that is, without getting too into the statutes, it's based on a family relationship, blood or marriage. So those are the kind of cases where it is husband, wife, live-in partners, individuals with children together if they're not living together, brother, sister, mother against daughter, all those kind of things. We also have dating violence statutes. Those typically are for people who have a short-term relationship. It is a romantic relationship. They're not living together. They don't have children together. There's protection with regarding to that. And a lot of times those might be stalking issues, which is also a statute, but it can also relate to dating violence. We have sexual assault, which is pretty much what it says. Some people call it rape. Some people call it sexual assault because it could be touching, fondling, other kinds of things that may not include penetration. We also have the human trafficking statute that we work with, and that can be anyone who is a child or an adult. And I think Kristen will probably talk a little bit about that too, because I think you guys do some human trafficking work. Our work is intended to help people. We do not force anything on them if they decide, because it's very difficult to explain. And if you see Jeffrey working or other attorneys, it's complicated because there's a relationship with people and someone has hurt them. So they are balancing the love they have with someone and the fear of getting hurt again. So it's very important that we do assessments with every case and help the victim understand the level of danger that they may or may, encounter, because we don't want to have re-victimization, but we also don't want to push anyone to do something they're not ready to do. So our attorneys, and most of they're not here right now. Jeffrey already explained, he works near downtown. It's the courthouse next door. We have offices in some of the courthouses because that's where people file for protection orders. It's a very fast-paced process. Typically, if there's service within 15 days of applying for protection order, there's a full evidentiary hearing. A full evidentiary hearing includes deciding whether there is abuse. It's a civil matter. There might be a criminal component because the perpetrator may have been arrested, but in our part of it, we will deal with protection for the victim, some kind of time sharing if there are children involved that will take into consideration the safety of the children. It will address child support on a temporary basis, sometimes alimony, exclusive use and possession of the shared residence if they are living together. And this protection order can be indefinite or it can be for a certain period of time. There are criminal ramifications for violations of the protection order, and we help our victims with that because we believe the process needs to hold offenders accountable. So after the hearing, we pretty much sit down with the client again, explain, because a lot of people don't know what happened. They're dealing with a lot of trauma. They're dealing with a lot of other issues, you know, daycare, housing, whatever. So our attorneys always sit down with them, go through this 20-page document, explain what it is, what it isn't, and also do more safety planning, because what we have learned in our practice, and you can read articles on this, the tactics change. The power and control is the main thing in an abusive relationship. So once a victim leaves or tries to escape, that is when someone is more in danger of becoming a victim again or something lethal happening. So if someone has left, now the tactics will change. If they have a child, now it becomes an issue with the children, being aggressive with the children, undermining parenting, all these kind of things. There's a lot of power and control wheels out there. There are some for teenagers, there's some for elderly people, people with disabilities. They're different because all the tactics are different, and every relationship has its own dynamic. Let me see, Jeffrey, jump in if I've left something out.
No, I think you described it all perfectly. Honestly, I think you covered all the bases. And I think once they see, you know, me and the other attorneys going through it, I think they'll really, you know, get a good grasp on it.
I think it's good if you can sit in on a consultation and watch the case go to court, because you'll understand why the questions are being asked and how the strategy is being worked on in order to go to court. We have an attorney down south in South Dade. They work in the Rape Crisis Center, and she primarily works with farm workers and immigrant victims. We have an attorney in Hialeah, which is the west part of our county. So I guess east, west, west, east, I don't know how you call it, whatever, northwest. And that is pretty much the population there. Every population is different in Miami-Dade County, but that one is primarily recent immigrants and a lot of Cuban Americans who live there. And then we have our newest office in Caleb, which is in the northeast of Miami. And our attorney, Cynthia Stafford there, she works with the population there, which is primarily African American. And then we have Nick, I guess, Nick and Steven. Steven's our litigation director, and any questions you have about anything, he will answer anything for you, and he will guide you and help you. Like Avita said, we're all here to help you. We want you to get the best experience out of this and a foundation on understanding, for our unit anyway, understanding people, understanding our role as a counselor at law, and trying to do something that doesn't create unintended consequences for someone who has come out and sought your assistance. So I think, am I missing somebody? Jeffrey, do I have everybody? Sylvia, Avita, you mentioned Tenzi. I think that's all of us. But again, I apologize if I forgot someone. And we'll do trainings for you guys if you want. We have a lot of trainings. We also have been working on a special project for Miami-Dade County. It's a federal project. It's one of 6 in the country that we got, where we work with the intersection of domestic violence, sexual assault, and people with disabilities. I know you heard Avita earlier when she started this describing our panels or who we were with some description, and we're trying to start that ourselves when we do meetings, because there are some people who might be blind or have some sight impairment, and we try to say who we are. I mean, I think you guys have heard of people who use their preferred pronouns, things like that. We're trying to be as inclusive and accessible as we can to everyone. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I want you guys to know Alexandra Mesa, who I mentioned earlier, does housing and family,
Oh, there she
was
is.
just able to join our meeting.
Hey,
So
Alex.
you'll hear from,
Hey, Alex.
you will hear from her a little bit later. But I know Wendy has to go very soon, so we will hear from Wendy next for the Guardianship Department, so you guys can get a little taste of what she does, what they do.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Avita. We work under Florida Statute 744 with also crossovers from Florida Statute Chapter 39. Basically, what guardianship is where you have a loved one, a friend, or just a person who can no longer take care of themselves and has special disabilities or just disabilities where they cannot live on their own, they cannot do their daily activities without assistance. So it's usually the parents, but it's usually a parent or a family member that come and apply to be their legal guardian. And when that happens, the family member that is the person with disabilities is usually declared fully incapacitated or in a limited way. And what that means is each and every one of us has certain rights that are given to us. And what a guardianship does is it takes away those rights from a person and gives them to somebody else to do for them. And some of those rights are to marry, to vote, to have a driver's license, to retain or seek employment, to manage property, to contract, to travel, to determine your own residence, to make decisions about your social environment, to consent to medical treatment, to sue and defend a lawsuit, and to have a license to carry a weapon. Those are rights that, if you are declared incapacitated, are taken away from you. And your legal guardian is the one that does all of that for you, except vote. And can't marry, but still, you can't do those any longer. And what we do is we assess each and every person that comes into our department to see if that is the least restrictive means possible for them. So if, for example, they can just have a power of attorney, if they're not, I don't want to say the word disabled enough, but it's the only thing that's coming to my mind right now. But if they can do some of those things, we'll have a limited guardianship. And if we really don't want to incapacitate someone because I really don't like doing that, and if I can at all not do that, then we try to do perhaps a guardian advocacy. We refer those out. And in that case, there is no incapacity. So you don't have that carried around with you, and you can still do whatever you need with the help of someone else. So what we do is we take care of that case for the life of the ward. I have cases that are from the 80s. I think the last 70s we finished, and by finish, I mean the ward passed away. And it's either they pass away or they move out of our jurisdiction is how we close them. So we've had some for 30, 40 years, and they last a very long time. So we are the only one. That's why our caseload is so high. We have over 1,000 open cases right now. We were lucky and blessed enough to get a grant to start a unit in South Dade, where there's a huge population surge. And Juanita Sindan, who is a senior attorney and has practiced in just about every department, heads up that office. And we also are in the Caleb Center, which is the Northwest section. And if things go our way and we're able to still expand, we'd love to go also into Hialeah. We have a lot of clients from Hialeah, and it's really hard for them to get around. During this pandemic, it was really hard to communicate with a lot of our guardians because they do not do email or FaceTime. But I have to say, after the year, they have gotten very good at it because all of our hearings are still on Zoom. And I've had secretaries walk them through everything while we're on Zoom. So it's funny sometimes, but the judges are very aware that everyone has limitations. And have been very gracious with us. So other things that we do, as well as the incapacity hearing and the guardianship hearing, are travel petitions. We have special needs trusts. You learn a lot about probate and guardianship in this division. We have wards that get into accidents where personal injury lawyers are involved, and so we have to be involved because the probate court has to approve everything that happens to this ward. So they have to approve the hiring of another attorney to represent them and approve the settlement. And there's a lot of people that don't understand that and are very annoyed at that fact, but it's only to protect the ward. So Kristen, I know, went over a little bit about our the Children's Advocacy Unit, but we also do foster youth guardianships. And Evita, if it's okay, I'll let her talk about that so I can get ready for my next meeting.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right.
Kristen, go ahead. Thank you, Wendy.
Sure. So the foster youth guardianships are essentially the same as a regular adult guardianship, with the exception that these are young adults who are, like I mentioned, aging out of foster care, and their primary caregiver is the state, the Department of Children and Families, and they have an agency assigned to them. So that agency will reach out to us, hopefully as early as 16, but unfortunately, we get a lot of referrals sometimes at the very last minute, a month before the youth is aging out sometimes. So we represent the agencies under the umbrella of DCF in filing the petitions for incapacity and petitions for guardianship for these former foster youth. I say former foster youth because they are aging out of foster care, but in Florida, we have what's known as extended foster care. So when a youth is getting ready to turn 18, they can actually stay within the foster care system until they are 21, as long as they are living in an approved environment by the Department of Children and Families. And they also have to be attending school, working a part-time job, or not doing either one of those things because they have some type of disability. So basically around 2000, between 2011 and 2015, we got what is known as the Regis Little Act. And Regis Little was a young man who aged out of foster care in I think it was in the Orlando area. He had bipolar, PTSD, intellectual disability, had several diagnoses, and there was nothing in place for him when he turned 18. At this time, Florida did not have extended jurisdiction, and Florida did not have the Regis Little Act, obviously. So he turned 18 years of age, and he was sort of just left to his own self to figure it out on his own. He unfortunately passed away soon after his 18th birthday. He got in a fight in a parking lot or something like that. And from that tragedy, the then governor, Rick Scott, I think at the time, developed a task force to take on this issue of children aging out of foster care with disabilities. And from that, we got the Regis Little Act. So it's essentially a part of Chapter 39 that states that whenever you have a youth in care who may possibly meet the requirements of a guardianship, limited or plenary, or a guardian advocacy pursuant to 744, that you need to start getting that process ready for the young adult prior to their 18th birthday. And it actually allows you to file a petition for incapacity or guardianship when a youth is 17 and a half. It does take a long time to sort out all the paperwork. Here in Miami-Dade, generally the only guardian that you can find for these youth is the public guardian. Since these youth have been in foster care, sometimes half of their lives, there really aren't family members around who are willing or who are appropriate to come back and be a guardian for these young adults. Mostly their parents' rights have been terminated, and sometimes you have some biological family members or grandparents, aunts and uncles, but if a child has been in foster care for 12 years and that individual hasn't stepped up until now to take responsibility for them, then it's not likely that they are going to be the most suitable guardian when this youth turns 18. And within the Regis Little Act, they actually address that. So it actually states that with youth aging out of foster care, biological family members are not allowed to serve as a guardian unless the Dependency Court makes a clear finding in a written order stating that it would be in the best interest of that youth. So rarely does it ever happen. So that's basically the Regis Little Act. And like I said, filing a guardianship for a youth in foster care is pretty much the same as filing a guardianship petition for any other youth. It's just a matter of how old they are, who is their caregiver, and it's all within Chapter 39. So that's pretty much it. I don't know, Evita, if you wanted me to talk more about child ad now or come back to me.
No, go ahead. I think that as long as we're with you, we should just keep it rolling.
Sure. Okay. So I know I went over it a little bit about child advocacy. It's under Chapter 39, and specifically 39.0135 gives certain youth in foster care the right to have an attorney. And those are, like I mentioned, youth going into a residential placement. That would be what we refer to as a SIP placement, SIPP. And those are youth who are, the department wants to place them in a locked psychiatric facility. Basically, it is a big deprivation of their rights. So they are entitled to an attorney to represent them in that hearing, to express their wishes to the court and ensure that they receive due process in that hearing. So that's one thing that I do. Additionally, children who are being given psychotropic medication in foster care also have the right to an attorney. Oftentimes they do agree to take the medication, but oftentimes they, do not want to take medication. They feel that it makes them tired. There are certain side effects and it, changes their appetite, or they don't just feel good on it. So youth who have been prescribed medication have a right to a fair hearing on the matter and a right to, have the psychiatrists be examined and cross-examined, etc. Another youth that qualify would be youth who are either victims of human trafficking or at risk of becoming a victim of human trafficking. In Miami-Dade, we have what is known as Grace Court. It was started several years ago by Judge San Pedro Iglesia at the time. Right now, we have Judge Angelica Zayas. And so Grace Court is our specialized court for victims of HT. And it's a great example of a special court because all of the treatment providers are in one place. There's one agency who provides the case management for all of the youth. The majority of them are girls, but there are also boys in Grace Court. You have, the therapists, they have safe houses. So, and then you have basically the same attorneys who work on all of the cases together, as in the Department of Children and Families, the Guardian Ad Litem program, and then attorneys who are appointed to represent those individuals. Oftentimes, when you have a youth in Grace Court, you also have that youth on psychotropic medication or the possibility of going into a residential placement. So all of these factors sort of run together a lot. Also, youth who have a developmental disability also qualify for an attorney in dependency, and that is a big majority of the youth as well. And then lastly, youth who are in a skilled nursing facility. We don't have, this is not very common. So those 5 criteria. Other than that, youth don't qualify to have an attorney represent their wishes. There is the Guardian Ad Litem program, which is a great organization who has attorneys who represent the youth's best interest. Best interest is very different from representing expressed wishes. Best interest is, I think it's in the child's best interest to, I don't go to a specific school, to go into a placement and receive specific services. And then expressed wishes can sometimes be more like, my client does not want to go to school. My client wants to go to, a GED program. My client, it can be whatever they want. And oftentimes it is keeping them or representing them in hearings where they do not want to go into a locked facility. So other than that, the child ad can be a little bit unpredictable. And I'll just give you one quick example of my day on Friday. I thought I would be sitting at my desk writing petitions all day. I got a call in the morning that the mother of a youth that I represent, this is a 13-year-old boy with autism. His mother was a drug court mom. So drug court is also a specific court for parents who have a substance abuse problem. So he had been reunified. He had been placed in foster care, removed from her, and then reunified with her for nearly a year. And unfortunately, last week, mother relapsed after a year of being sober. She did cocaine and alcohol. And within that relapse time period, she also met up with an ex of hers who she had a history of domestic violence with. So there was an incident, the police were called, the children were present for the incident. And then unfortunately, I got a call that the judge was having an emergency hearing on it. So all afternoon Friday, it was just this emergency hearing, the department calling all of the witnesses. And unfortunately, the two children were removed for the second time. So now they are in a foster care placement. So that's sort of like anything can happen in a child advocacy case. You think you might be set for hearing on a very simple issue, and then something else comes up and you just run with it. But so that's a little bit about what I do. It's never boring. And like I said, if anyone, I know I'll be working with Alyssa and Anna, and I'm open door, like Avita said.
Thank you so very much, Kristen. And I just want to circle back on something that Kristen said. She talked about the Guardian Ad Litem program. Stephanie, who was on here earlier with the blue background, she actually is our go-to person in the office for the Guardian Ad Litems who need mentorship. So let's say it's a person that usually does personal injury law, but they want to volunteer their time and they want to do something to give back to the community, and they choose to become a pro bono Guardian Ad Litem. They will be assigned through an office that we have within our office called the Put Something Back program. And if you guys see on your screen, there's a black box that says Jessica. She has been able to join us, and Jessica is going to talk a little bit later about what Put Something Back and the Guardian Ad Litems that are assigned through Put Something Back do. But basically, if they need guardian, oh, there's Jessica. We can see Jessica now. So you guys will be able to hear a little bit more about what PSB, which is Put Something Back, what they do. But Stephanie's the go-to person in our office for Guardian Ad Litem who need some mentorship, who have any questions. Although Mark and I don't know if Alexandra, a few of us do also get assigned these new Guardian Ad Litems who have questions. Stephanie really does the bulk of the work on the Guardian Ad Litem mentorship program. And Stephanie also, just so you guys know, she is also the go-to person and kind of heads the Young Lawyers Association. So the young lawyers is basically what it sounds like. Young lawyers who want to be able to network and have access to other young lawyers who you don't have to basically practice in the same area, but you practice in the same physical area. So you want to just start building your network, and you want to really build that Rolodex of people that you can call. I guess Rolodex is really antiquated. The contact list on your iPhone of who you can call and who you can reach out to if you have any questions as to, you know, an area of law that you don't really know about, that you don't practice in. And that really, as any practicing attorney can tell you, is an invaluable resource. When you have a question about something that you don't really do, that you don't practice in, to be able to pick up the phone and call someone and say, hey, can you just tell me a little bit about this? This is a situation, what would you do? So young lawyers is really helpful for that. So that's Stephanie, I know is not here, but just so you know, since I want to reiterate, we all do have an open door policy. If you want to learn a little bit more about young lawyers or about what exactly a guardian ad litem, you know, pro bono experience is like, you can definitely reach out to her. She would be the person who would be able to best detail that for you. But again, you can reach out to any of us. We all in the family law department deal with guardian ad litems. So their role is really pivotal in so many cases that we have for the complex issues. So I'm gonna hand it over to Alexandra Mesa. She is the one with her hair down with the kind of grayish white background. She was able to join us from the housing meeting. So she does family law and housing. And that way you guys can hear a little bit about what we do for housing.
Good morning, guys. So my name is Alex. I do, as Evita said, I do probably like 90% family law and then like 10% of undocumented housing cases. So there's two big agencies in Miami that do housing. One is the Community Justice Project. The other one's Legal Services of Greater Miami, but they don't do undocumented tenants. So we do the undocumented tenants. Undocumented meaning they don't have a status to be in the United States, but there's a lot of people in Miami like that. So, and then landlord tenant law, you're always gonna get a question if you're a lawyer on, no matter what type of law you do, you're always gonna get a question from your neighbor, from your mom, from your brother, from your family member regarding landlord tenant. So it's really good to have like a little idea of what it is. So landlord tenant law all involves like the relationship between a landlord and a tenant, and then what rights tenants have and what rights landlords have. But it all begins with a notice. So there's 3 different types of notices that a landlord can give a tenant for an eviction, ultimately, if they want you out of the property. So one is a 3-day notice, and then a 3-day notice is if you haven't paid rent. So Florida is a pay-to-play state. So the number one reason why you can get evicted in Florida is if you did not pay your rent. It could be $20 that you fell behind. It can be $5. It can be cents. If you get a 3-day notice, you'll have 3 days to come up with whatever you owe in rent. And if you don't pay that amount, then they can open it within those 3 days, then they can automatically open an eviction against you. If you do not deposit the money that you owe into the registry, it's an automatic default. So the only way you can bring any defense in a non-payment of rent case would be by depositing the amount of money that you have. So your place can be falling apart. You can have roaches, rats, you can have everything in your house. But if you do not pay your rent into the registry, you automatically lose your eviction case. And then a second way you can get evicted is if you violate a term of your lease. You have maybe a guest that overstayed. You invite your boyfriend onto the property. Your boyfriend was never part of the lease. He's only allowed to stay 14 days. After the 14 days, you get a notice. You didn't remove your boyfriend within the 14 days. And then they can evict you also based on a lease violation. And then the other one is in Florida, if you do not have a lease, you're called a month-to-month tenant. So month to month being you pay your rent month to month. So at any point in time, the landlord can give you a 15-day notice before your rental is due and telling you have to move out. So if you don't have a lease and you get a month-to-month tenant, a month-to-month termination notice, and you don't move out by the 15th day, then you can get evicted too. So let's say you pay your rent on the 1st, you get a notice on the 15th to move out by the 31st. If you fail to move out by the 31st, then you're considered a holdover tenant, and they can also evict you and collect double the amount of rent against you. And then right now with the pandemic, we've had a whole bunch of different federal laws that have come into place. One of them is the Cdc Eviction Moratorium that was issued by the federal government on September 4th. And that pretty much prevents all evictions to go forward from September 4th to July 31st right now. It was just extended. And you pretty much have to give your landlord a notice. It's called the Cdc Declaration. You have to tell them, you know, I can't pay my rent because of COVID. So you have to have been affected by, there's a really bad feedback. I'm not sure. Can you guys hear a feedback or it's only me?
I think you sound okay.
Okay. I hear something in the background. So the CDC declaration, you have to hand it to your landlord and then you have to sign it. You can send it to him via text message, via an email, or via mail. And once they get it, they can evict you based on non-payment of rent. But you have to have been affected by COVID. So if they open up an eviction against you and want to challenge the validity of the CDC, they can do so. And then if in court they can prove that you have money coming into your bank account, that you're working, and that you can afford your rent, then you'll also be evicted, and the CDC won't protect you. And that's pretty much it. So, and then we also have in landlords in our housing department, a lot of it is counsel and advice because our tenants sometimes don't have the money to deposit into the registry. So it's really explaining to the tenant what their rights are, what notices they can send out if they have property issues, or how to answer an eviction if they don't have the money to deposit the money into the registry, and then how to get your security deposit back. A lot of issues, once you move out, the landlord never gives back, let's say, the $1,000 in security deposit. So it's really explaining to the tenant what their options are if they don't get their deposit back. So if you want to learn more, just let me know and I'm happy to explain that to you. And then I also do, I'm sure Avita or Mark already explained family law a little bit, right? What we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
So we have Jessica here for PSB for Put Something Back. So she's gonna explain to you a little bit about what PSB does. And they're gonna be the last department that we hear from. And PSB is super important to not only our agency and the court system, but to the community. Not only the attorneys in the professional community, but the community at large. So I'll hand it over to Jessica.
Thanks, Avita. So I'm stepping in for Bruce. He heads basically PSB. He's the attorney in charge and he oversees the whole program. What we basically do, we receive intakes now since COVID. We'll do online intake and telephone intake any way that we possibly can. We've done a couple Zoom intakes with different types of clients. Now, clients come to us primarily right now through the internet where they're able to find us. However, I was just doing intake this morning and, we had some 30 clients that had just found us on the internet. There is also 2 referrals from other agencies outside of Florida in which there are residents and sometimes even people that are not residents of Miami-Dade County that have a court case here in Miami, whether it's a family court case, whether it's bankruptcy. We do a very wide variety of cases. We do startups and patent cases, guardian ad litem cases, which of course our family department, the attorneys are fantastic and they help mentor the attorneys that are learning about family law cases as well as the guardian ad litem cases. We do get referrals a lot from the courthouse as well for guardian ad litem and any other type of case. So we get a lot of referrals and we get a lot of clients needing assistance. All these clients, of course, fall within the same parameters of legal aid. They have to be indigent. they fall between the federal poverty guidelines. And at that point, we do our very best. We have a lot of attorneys throughout Miami-Dade County, some throughout the US for different types of law that are able to practice and assist our clients here. So a lot of things have changed in which now clients don't specifically need to meet with the attorney. A lot of things are being done telephonically through Zoom. And so because of technology, we're able to help a lot more people. So attorneys are loving this situation, especially our pro bono attorneys, where that they can just take a quick, 15, 20 minutes and meet with these clients, assess their needs, and then decide whether they're going to represent them entirely for their case. We do have a lot of interns that assist us, and they're vital, at almost as much as the attorneys. They help us process all the cases, and we stay on the actual case until it's done. We get the pro bono hours from the attorneys, and those that we help them report that. They get legal malpractice insurance for their pro bono cases. So, and then we also allow for interns and anyone that is really wanting to have a specific experience within a certain area of law, assist these pro bono attorneys with the different type of cases, as well as monitoring, and the list goes on. Really, there isn't a type of case that we say absolutely not that we won't do, especially when we have a huge, diverse group of attorneys that practice different things. So if we have an attorney that says, hey, I do expungements, which, we actually handle as well. And we had one specific attorney and said, hey, I want to do 100 expungements this year. And so he wanted to do them pro bono. So at that point, all the expungement cases, we started accepting them because we had attorneys. So really, that's what we do, is we assess, just make sure that the client qualifies, that there aren't any conflicts. Rarely there are some conflicts, but we want to make sure that it's not anything that, it's a respondent in a, domestic violence case. There's certain circumstances in which Bruce will review, but in the general census, we try to take as many cases as we can, given that we have the attorneys to handle those cases, where we basically aim to refer, within 30 days. Some cases we can get out right away, and then others, again, have a long period of time. Those cases that are family contested cases take a very long time. Of course, those cases can take 2 to 3 years in a court setting. So sometimes we can, refer maybe 100 to 200 a year. And then we have a request about 500 to 600. So we attempt to, the best that we can, match them. And then we also have CLE seminars that most of our attorneys have presented. They here at Legal Aid, they mentor and they do so much in the community that I think that, throughout Miami-Dade County, everyone knows our family law attorneys, especially because in the CLE seminars, the judges will present certain data and information. And those are one of the things that we allow, and we tell the pro bono attorneys that if they take a case, they are able to attend these CLE seminars, get their requirements, and as long as they take a case, they do not have to pay. So that helps us also place those cases, and our legal aid attorneys are fantastic, and they help mentor them. So this program is not like a solo program. We all work together, and it's working really well. But that's about it, all in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Jessica. So circling back to what Jessica mentioned about the CLE, that the CLEs that Put Something Back puts on, we want you guys to know that we do have recordings of the family and guardian ad litem CLEs that Put Something Back has put on. So if you're interested in watching any of those, let me know, and I'll let you guys know how exactly to get to them, and for probate as well. If you want to learn just a little bit more on those subjects. We also want to let you guys know we have the 29th annual Nuts and Bolts of Family Law coming up on June 25th. It's a great way to learn kind of family law basics, and you'll be exposed to not only attorneys and some of our own attorneys that will be speaking, but also to some judiciary that will also be there. And that's on June 25th. So again, if you guys want to attend, let me know, or let the attorney that you're working with know, so that we can definitely get you on the list and get you the Zoom information so that you don't miss out. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time and attending and hearing a little bit about what Dade Legal Aid does. And we really hope that you get the utmost out of this internship experience. And again, please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions, and we are here to help. I don't know if you guys have any questions off the bat, or if I know it's a lot of information. And you guys have gotten just a little taste of everything that we do. So if once you process everything, if you have any questions about how something works or a particular department or anything like that, just please feel free to reach out. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, I will go ahead and end the recording and end the meeting. Nobody has questions? Okay, I want to thank everybody again for coming. I really appreciate you taking time this morning to be here. And I'm sorry, I have a dry cough. And I really hope that you guys enjoy this summer with us.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome all to Legal Aid.
Thank you, guys.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.